Here.
About what you've done, and
Yes.
you're welcome to help you.
Yes, so thank you for coming. And I think you want to learn about design thinking, right? So first I will tell you what I'm doing, my background, and then I will talk about design thinking a bit and the way I teach design thinking here. So this is the outline for the talk, and we'll go to it a bit later on. So I was born here in Zaragoza. Maybe you know about it.
Is it above Toledo or down from Toledo?
It's North Toledo.
Okay,
Toledo will be here,
we
right?
need to know.
And here, this is France.
It's a nice location, my dear friend.
Yeah, so Zaragoza is famous because they did the expo that you're going to do like a few years ago. So that's why. Then we moved to Barcelona, which is a great city. I guess you know. There is Barcelona, and in Barcelona I studied electrical engineering. And when I finished, I was really bored. I worked for a year in Switzerland and Germany, and I didn't know what to do with my life. So they gave me a scholarship to go to Japan, and I went to Japan, Tokyo, and started a PhD in robotics. So that's my background here. My topic was about climbing robots, bio-inspired robotics. So if you go to YouTube, you can see my funky videos about robotics, the robots I built.
How do we find that?
Just Google my name. You will find my robot on YouTube.
Okay. Somebody's interested, that's what I'm saying.
Just go climbing robot in YouTube. It's number 5. It's my famous video. Anyway, so we were studying animals, how they solve engineering problems, and then copy their strategies. So this is a famous example of a gecko climbing, and this is a robot that climbs using gecko strategy. It's not my robot, it's this guy's from Stanford. Very good. So, and then something happened. One day they gave me a grant, a big grant, and I didn't want to fail with the research. So I thought, how can I make the most out of this grant? At that time, it was about 2005. And if you remember, Toyota was at the top of the crest. It was going to surpass GM in production, of course, in value already. And in Japan, any magazine was talking about Toyota production system. I'm sure you're familiar. A way to produce things very efficient, the secret sauce of the wealth that Toyota built. So I was a fan of this thing, and you could read it in the magazine. So I thought, wow, so my lab is like if I think of my lab like a factory, I just need to apply this Toyota production system, and the output is going to be robots and papers and patents. And the input is the money, me, and the people in the lab and the facilities. And so I just started looking at books about Toyota and all these things. And it went really well. The moment you start thinking of the lab as a factory, we got very good results. We got a few patents, lots of papers, maybe too many papers because my supervisor got a bit jealous, but it was very good. So from that point, I became very interested in Toyota, and I started studying about Toyota, and I went to visit factories, Toyota factories, and my friends that work at Toyota would let me sneak at night through the back door to see the factory. So it was good. When I graduated, a friend that worked at McKinsey asked me if I wanted to join McKinsey, and I said yes, of course. He told me, well, why don't you put in your resume that you're doing something with Toyota, Toyota benchmark or something. Write a paper about it so your resume will look stronger. And I said, yeah, sure, we can do that. And I started writing a little research paper. And then it became a little book. At the end, I didn't go to work to McKinsey. I went to work at CERN, which is in Geneva, the particle accelerator. Very funky place too. Then I started a company. Before Facebook was really famous, it was a wedding website, which totally failed. And then I was jobless and with no money, and so I asked my Japanese friends, well, you know, my startup has failed. I need a job. And so they found me a job in a place called near Fukushima, which blew out a few months later. So after this blew out, I went back to Europe as a nuclear refugee, and I thought, what am I going to do with my life? And so I found a job here in the UA University in LA, and that was very funny because the people at UA University they had offered me a job since a long time ago, but I didn't know Dubai at the time, and I had a lot of prejudice with the culture and so on. So, but after I was jobless, I was in Brussels, and I need a job. So I had rejected that job. But after this happened, I just called them and I said, hey, that job you offered me a few months ago, you still have it? And they said, yeah, we still have it. We're going to send you the tickets next week. You come as a consultant, and if you like it, you stay. So I came, and I thought, it's not so bad. And so that's why I'm teaching this at UA University. And then, well, this is Dubai, you know this one. And then a few years ago, the university asked me to teach a critical thinking course. And I said, sure, why don't we teach about how Toyota builds cars and how efficient they are, these Japanese methods. And they said, yes, go ahead. And then I was preparing the curriculum of this course. And I stumbled into a thing called design thinking, which I didn't know. Because if you remember, design thinking was invented in 2004, around that time it exploded. And then I started thinking, what is this design thinking? And then I realized, design thinking, this is what I've been looking all my life, how to take creativity and make it more efficient, and that's what it is, basically. And then something interesting happened. A colleague of mine was, if you know, UA University is an iPad university. They made a deal with Apple. Every student has an iPad. And they encourage everybody, every professor, to put the contents in iPad format, which is really good because it forces people that usually don't do any effort, organizing the contents of a course to organize it because you have to publish it. So I saw my friends, my colleagues, doing iBooks, and I thought, well, if they can do an iBook, I could do an iBook too. So I did this iBook for the course called Design Thinking, the Brown Book of Design Thinking, which the university paid for the royalties of the images and all this stuff. And I put it for free there, and it became quite famous. If you go to the iBook store now with Design Thinking, you will see this book there. And after that, something interesting happened. One day I received an email from a Mexican MBA course, and they say, well, hi, Mr. Berengueres, would you like to come and teach design thinking to our students here in Mexico in the summer? So, wow, yes, but who are you, and how did you find me? And then they reply, well, we find it because your syllabus it's in Google. I said, what? And then I went to Google, and I Googled design thinking syllabus, and there it was. The syllabus I just put online because I thought, just put it online, maybe somebody will use it. It's on the top of the list, and that's how people find you and offer you jobs. But all this became because of the book, yes? So my advice to you guys, whenever you can, make a book and make it free, and then you make the money somewhere else. Still, I met many people, and they say, I'm going to make a book, and I'm going to make them pay $10 or something. And I think that's a huge mistake, especially this age. Information is almost free. But if you make something good, people will find you and ask you for other things.
So publicity.
Yeah, but still many people don't get it. And they say, no, I want to charge for my book that 10 people is going to download. It's like, okay. Right, so what is design thinking? Anybody familiar with the term? Can give me a definition? Nobody heard about design thinking before? Lady in the back?
I don't know if it is wise versa. Design thinking, are you thinking of the how it has been designed, or design in a way that how the thoughts can be in the commercial way? I'm not sure. Really.
Okay, that's interesting. So there's a lot of misconception about design thinking. Most of the people think design thinking is about design. It's not about design. Design thinking is about how you think, how you work in group. So you work more efficiently.
How you organize your ideas.
How you organize your, but mostly how you work in group. And I will talk about this later. But it has nothing to do with design. You will have a problem, a very complicated problem, and usually when you have that, you need a group of people to solve it. Some of them are designers. This kind of problem started with how we do design a better airplane. You will have a lot of designers there. And that's why people think it's about design. You do product design, but you will have experts from lots of ranges. And the problem is when you have so many people in a group, which are experts at their own thing, these kind of people, they're usually like very narrow. And they're not very good at working with other people. And you can have a very excellent group of people, but they don't know how to work together. And then you have a very poor output. And I see this with my students, the course I teach, human-computer interaction. Sometimes they will need to work in groups. And I see the students, the first thing I do is let them work in group for the first day, and it's a disaster. Like, the students don't know how to work in group. They start criticizing each other. They get feedback as a very personal attack. and so the first thing I have to do is to teach them a bit about design thinking ways. And then they work much better in group, and they take feedback much better. Like, they take feedback like a learner attitude, not like a personal thing. Yes, and that's one interesting thing that many people maybe probably hear a lot. Like, when we talk about something, I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about the product, and that's something that's hard to learn. Anyway, so back to this. So I published this book and the syllabus, and it became famous. So now I teach mostly around the world. I teach in Germany. Last Christmas, I gave 3 workshops at Apple because my friends wanted to say, what is this thing? You wrote a book. What is this? Why don't you come and give a talk here? Saudi Arabia next year, they want to start being more creative. So we're gonna teach them at Mecca University.
What happened?
It will take time.
Yeah, I don't know. It's powerful too. So yeah, so all these thanks to writing an iBook, basically. So that's my takeaway. This is how a design thinking class looks. That's a class in Mexico in the summer, in July. So you need to basic tools to design thinking. This guy and this guy, Sharpie.
Carrefour.
Carrefour.
Okay. Just want to know.
1 dirham and 5 cents.
Me too.
So it looks messy, but that's how a good workshop should look. If it doesn't look like that, it's not something wrong.
There's a virtual program which allows you to post all those stick notes on the, on a desktop or a laptop or whatever.
I don't know that. I just take pictures. So I gave them some challenges, and these are very talented Mexican people, as you can see. Other things I do, I write posts on LinkedIn, so you can find me on LinkedIn, and I usually criticize MBAs. I make fun of them. I tell them they're not creative and that they should study design thinking. So you can follow me on LinkedIn if you like to connect. And let's see here. Okay, so that's kind of an introduction. So now I'm gonna tell you a bit. How are we on time? We good? I'm gonna tell you a bit about why to learn design thinking, and I usually start the course with this. Warren Buffett, he has a very famous talk, and he tells the students, okay, in the course of your life, you will earn lots of money, a finite amount. Put a price on that finite amount of money that you would earn. So I will ask you now, gentleman